This is Ronit on the East Coast,
And WizCate on the West Coast.
and we
Hello.
are hopelessly
Hopelessly unedited.
unedited. So we decide on the topic, but we don't edit it. Whatever we say during this session, you're gonna hear it raw, just like that. So, with that said, so a little bit of a recap. So last week we talked about food, international food, but mostly because Kate being from France and me being from Hong Kong, we talked about Chinese food and French food. So after the session, I did a little poll on Instagram. One of the food that we talked about is in Hong Kong, one of my favorite dishes is pig blood. Not piglet, but pig blood. So I did a poll and show a clip of the videos about when we our discussion, and asked the audience if they are going to try it. So 50% of them said yes, 25% of them said no, and another 25% said I'll try anything at least once. But other than pig blood, we talked about other food as well. So if you're interested in hearing about what we've talked about, please go to our last episode in our Hopelessly Unedited podcast. Also, I'm going to upload the video itself on YouTube later this week, and I will share some information both on Spotify as well as Instagram on that. So with that said, we are starting this week's episode. You ready?
So no more pig blood? No pig blood for a bit?
Not for a bit, yeah.
Okay.
I
can't believe, I don't know. She threatened me, this one. She threatened me. She said, if you were near me, I would make you some pig blood sausage or whatever for lunch. And that was, it was a threat. So I don't know if I can come and visit anymore. I'm too scared.
It's not a threat. It's well, so you would be in the no population, not you'll try anything at least one.
I've tried it. I don't like it.
But not my kind of pig blood. You try sausage.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't try that. Yes, that's right. I wouldn't try your pig blood.
So there are also a fourth option. The fourth option is, if that's the only food left on earth, would you eat it? So you're either starving or you eat it.
You probably eat it.
Okay.
Hey, so, I have something off the cuff here. So in Chinese, like you do 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Is that right?
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like that. So thumb first for the listener. Index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky.
Okay, so you don't do the thing where you pinch your finger 1, 2, 3, 4?
I don't. I don't know.
Okay, I've seen that in the markets in China, and people were counting. Anyway, that's okay.
I'm from Hong Kong though, so I'm kind of odd. So
yeah, you are kind of odd.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry, let's go.
That's okay. So today we're going to talk a little bit about our corporate cultural shock. So we've been in the corporate world for decades again. And, so growing up in Asia, my upbringing, and Kate in Europe, so we were brought up a little differently, and in the workplace that our experience is a little different as well. So I picked out a few things that is really a shock for me. So we're going to discuss today about this and share our experience with you. So disclaimer, things might have changed a bit because we came here decades ago, but this is our cultural shock. Okay. With further ado, the first thing is the formality of interaction with your superior. So when I first came here, first jobs, I was really surprised. All the managers, all first name basis. Back home in Hong Kong, I worked a little bit, And at least the first day, when you don't know your superior, it's always Mr. Something. And after, some of them would say after a week or two, they would say, oh, just my name. It's okay. But definitely not the first day walked in. How about you, Kate and Fran?
Yeah, totally. I I was not used to this at all, and still now, like I went to the dentist, brand new dentist. I moved, so I just had to find somebody. I just went to the dentist, and here he is calling me by my first name, and I have to call him doctor dentist. And I was like, what? I was kind of shocked still, like
Yeah.
I should be Mrs. something,
Yeah.
and he should be doctor or something. That's fine, but my first name, that's just kind of shocking. I
Yeah.
don't know him.
Yeah. And then, people will come and say, oh, honey, dear. That's another thing that when I first came here, I thought, oh, am I your honey? you know?
Yeah, it's a
Um,
sign of like respect and deference, and
yeah.
there's a lot like for us in France. You say sir or ma'am to people
Mm,
who are older than you,
right.
and I
I
think
still
like
do.
in the military you hear this.
Well,
In
in
the
the South.
military,
In the
yeah,
South
well,
as well.
people will call you sir or ma'am, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And here, for some reason, it's offensive to be called ma'am.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Well, I had a colleague from Texas and a young gentleman, and I asked him, I said, well, in the South, are you more
Yeah,
formal with your parents? And he said, oh, definitely. When my parents, my dad asked me to do something, if it's like kind of a command, hey, go mow the lawn or something, I always say, yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. But like normally he would say mom and dad, but if there's something that is requested of him to do, he would address his parents, ma'am and sir. So, but, we were both in the West Coast. People are more formal, less
yeah.
formal, pardon me. And,
Um,
but I don't feel like East Coast and, especially the tech world, it's very casual, which it's a little strange to me. Like after all
yeah,
these years, it still kind of irks me a little bit. But I want to share this kind of funny story about the formality that I experienced in Asia. So this is after I um, came here and I worked on the West Coast in a little software company. And I was sent to Beijing on a business trip with a group of my colleagues. So to visit this vendor and provide a training to them. And then that evening, they took us out for dinner. And the manager, I would say that his level was equivalent to a director level here, but everybody called him Mr. Kong. And I asked the people in the office, I said, so what is his first name? And then they said, I don't know. It's just Mr. Kong. Like, they didn't even know his first name. That's number one. So I guess his first name is Mr. Anyway, so we went out to dinner. We went to the restaurant, and Mr. Kong wasn't there because Mr. Kong was busy, but he'll arrive later. So this one guy that was handling all of us started ordering food. And then probably about 20 minutes later, Mr. Kong walked in smiling with us and speaking with us. And I was speaking English with him because I have other colleagues, they're Japanese, Americans, they didn't speak Chinese. And so I was speaking English with him. And I mean, I have a funny little accent, but not a Chinese accent. I guess he couldn't place if I were Chinese or not, but he just assumed that I wasn't and assumed I didn't know Chinese. So I heard him speaking to the gentleman that took us to the restaurant and started ordering. And he was speaking Chinese to him and asking him, have you ordered anything yet? And then, not very nice way, I felt like. And then he said, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I said, what did you order? And so he showed Mr. Kong what he ordered. Mr. Kong looked at us like, these are crap. Let me order, and then call the server in and reorder a bunch of stuff. So I was sitting next to him and he was talking to me in English and asking me things, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, is there anything you like to eat? So the menu was bilingual, English and Chinese. and it's a Shanghainese place. And my favorite one of my favorite Shanghainese dish is it's the sweet and sour spare ribs. So I blurted out, I said, "Oh, 糖醋排骨" in Chinese. And then he looked at me, his face just, I don't know, he just looked like he was so embarrassed. He's like, "You speak Chinese?" I said, yes. So he knew I heard everything. He, his how he behaved with people that worked for him. Um, but it's like people, that's how it's supposed to be. So I don't know. In France, the boss, were they kind of mean to people that
Well,
worked
I
for
don't think
them?
so. I think that there's a strong culture of equality,
Mm,
equity, fairness um, over there. So I think there's some sort of deference that you kind of look up to your boss a little bit. You have to have some respect for them,
mm-hmm.
but they don't treat you like shit. At
Okay.
least not in corporate situations.
Yeah.
They 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 must have some sort of respect for you. Like it's polite. It's the right thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that drives a lot of how people treat you.
Okay.
But yeah, equality and fairness is really big.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
has to be like mutuality. Like you treat
Okay.
people like you want to be treated. Yeah.
Right. So that's good. That's better. But I'm hoping that it's better these days, in Hong Kong or China. But back then, I think that is kind of extreme. When I worked in Hong Kong, that one boss I worked just for a very short time. He was he was fine. He wasn't like that. He was a soft-spoken gentleman anyway. So, but I think it kind of translate a little bit different when I work here in America. The problem I have, I mean, it's two ways. So I felt like sometimes some of my managers, they weren't direct enough, and I was confused. I would get confused, or I see my colleagues as I thought they were doing a good job. It seems like the manager tells them that they're doing a good job, and ended up when performance reviews comes, they weren't doing a good job. I mean, how do you know? When you're not direct, you don't have to be mean, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally.
And
Totally.
I
It's
think,
not. It's not honest.
yeah, and I think
It's
I
not
had
honest.
problem.
They're trying to spare your feelings to make. They don't want to have any confrontation whatsoever. Like
Yeah, but it's really
it's
confusing though.
yeah, totally.
So
The
it's like,
Americans are not confrontational at. They're confrontational in very different ways. Like they'll be confrontational online, but in person, in the corporate world, they're not going to tell you.
you're just saying that they're chicken shit.
Yeah, I mean, often, right? Like we've experienced this. I've experienced it where I had people say like they say something really nice about a person, and then they turn around and they go like, hey, WizCate, here's something about this person, blah blah blah, and I'm like, why aren't you telling them that? Like, you know, they're not gonna know. How are they gonna improve or make different decisions or get better if you're not telling them what
Yeah.
they're doing wrong? It sucks.
Well, sometimes even
It's
it's on.
like in corporate, you're always sort of gearing up to get ready to fire somebody, or like
Yes.
who's going to be on the lowest rung when come performance reviews, right?
Hmm.
Like you're always kind of evaluating somebody, and you're like, okay, well, we'll be nice to this person. When it comes performance reviews, we're gonna give them like a shitty rank, and it sucks
Yeah.
because
I
they never
I
get the chance to fix it throughout the
This
year.
is
They
what
don't
I
get a
don't
chance to do
understand.
better.
Like raising kids, it's a very specific set of rules that I gave my girls, right? It's not, you need to make it simple. it's really difficult in corporate because it's all about, oh, how do you think? I mean, even on paper, you have mid-year review. Hey, you're doing great. And then 2 weeks later, turning around, they'll come talk to you and say, you need to do better. And I was like, I just got 2 weeks ago, I just got the mid-year review and saying that it's great. I've seen many times that happens to many people. So it's all very confusing. And sometimes I almost wish that direct harshness comes
Like
through
I
so I don't
have,
have to guess. What?
like I do.
Yeah, because I don't have to guess it, right? I'm not saying if it's like better or worse. I mean, my brain just cannot process it. That's all, you know. And I
Yeah,
think
I
a lot of
can't
them,
deal with it.
yeah.
It
And I think a
feels
lot of it,
two-faced.
well, a lot of it is also people are conditioned that on the receiving end they feel bad about it. But I think they just need to understand that it's not personal. And sometimes I always think that it's not because that person is not doing a good job. It's probably a wrong place for that person too, you know? So people need to
So
consider that.
the thing I was going to say about France earlier, um, is like, so you, like you have respect for your boss, and
Hmm.
you're kind, but it doesn't mean that you speak up either. Like
Oh,
something may be happening, and you may be just kind of going like, well, we'll just let it be. And people they can remain very quiet and let stuff happen just because they don't want to rock the boat, or they don't want to take on more responsibilities, or they don't want their boss to look bad, or they
hmm,
just don't want to deal with it. So like
yeah.
there's a weird passive aggressiveness with remaining silent, um, which you also find, I think, more and more in corporate America now, where people are they don't they don't rock the boat. They don't say anything anymore because they might get laid off. They might get fired.
Yeah.
So I think that's happening here too, but it's a different reason.
That's also the confusing part though, because they do encourage you to bring idea to speak up, but then you kind of can't, you know? It's very, where do you
Yeah,
draw the line?
yeah, it's really very difficult to for somebody like us, I think, who have grown up with like just say what you mean and mean what you say.
Hmm.
When you have somebody who doesn't say what they mean and they don't mean what they say, you have to like
Now
read
what?
between the lines, and it's really confusing. But it's difficult. Like you and I both manage people, and it's really difficult to manage people when they are like that. So like if you are a person who's very direct like me, who's managing a person who's not direct at all, like an American, they can get very upset by you being very direct and saying this isn't working. So there's like
Yeah.
an escalation to HR, and you're like, well, I said nothing that wasn't true. Then HR has to sort of smooth it out, and you're like, well, what? So it's very difficult. Like people can't take criticism or feedback, whatever you want to call it, because at some point it was criticism, then it became feedback.
But you know
They
how they
can't
have
take
that,
it, and then it becomes the problem the person who gives it. And it's like, I'm just trying to make it better. I'm not telling you off.
yeah. But young people, you heard, was it Gen Z, or Gen Alpha phase that they just kind of like emotionless, just stare at you. That stare. Have you heard of it? So I think maybe, you know, if you criticize them, they just stare at you these days, and then you will be the one that's sitting there like, so do you get it or do you not get it? I don't know.
Yeah,
I was thinking
I
about
see
that.
what you mean. And I think it's even harder, right, for people to deal with this kind of like
Mm-hmm.
aggression, because when they
Yeah.
don't respond, it's aggressive. It's really vile and difficult.
But this tie, so I'm going to park this because to tie back to the third point I wanted to discuss today. So I'm going to
Okay.
jump to this. I'm going to jump to the second point though. All right. Vacation. Now, you and I know
We're on vacation all
vacation.
the time.
I know. Right now we are. But the thing is that when we were working in corporate, vacation to me, it's not really vacation. I would always bring my laptop. I would clean out my email because I would basically delete a bunch of emails that I didn't need to read, or things that I don't have to tend to, somebody else would tend to. Because if I didn't do that, I would come back with 10,000 email in my inbox, and it would take me 3 days doing nothing but just to clean that out. And then the new work piled up. It's like more stressful for me. So that's why I brought my laptop. I would spend about 30 to 45 minutes a day while I was on vacation to clean up my email box, right? So let's say if I go on a 7-day vacation, 5 of the 7 days, I would do that. Now, we worked with people from other subsidiaries, from other country, notably in Europe. Everybody takes a 4 weeks vacation in the summer. They're gone. They're gone. You don't hear from them. You email them, they don't answer. Nothing. And it's just so different in America. Even though they say, oh, just go on vacation and relax. You probably knew this story. I had a manager told me, oh, don't bring your laptop, just relax. And I said, oh, no, I always do to clean my email. So I was with my family. I think it was like 10:20 a.m. My flight just landed in Portugal. All of a sudden, my phone rang. And I looked, it was my manager. And I thought, he asked me not to bring my laptop. Did somebody die on the team? I answer. I said, hey, what's up? It's like, hey, what are you doing? I said, my plane just landed in Portugal. And so he told me about what he wanted to tell me. And I said, you knew I brought my laptop. You could have just sent me you knew I would look at it. And then he said, well, I didn't think you'll pick up. No, it's got to be late in the US, 10 a.m. in Portugal.
Yeah.
Why do you call me? I mean, it's just
The
stupid things
fucking
like
work
that.
life balance does not exist.
No.
Work life balance does not exist here.
Yeah. Yeah. So you tell me. So if everybody in Europe um, goes on vacation for 4 weeks in the summer, who was working? I mean, how do they handle the work after they come back? Do
No,
you have
but
any
it's
insight?
it's typically so. Okay, so what happens is, okay, how far do I go? Let me answer your question first, and then I'll do.
Okay.
So typically, when you have, there's a few things that can happen. A company, if people are going to take some time off, a company can decide they're going to take the month of July off, and they close the doors, and everybody goes on vacation in July. More than likely, what happens is that they say, well, half the staff stays in July and the other half
Mm-hmm.
stays in August. And so they sort of, and everybody understands that it's going to be a lot slower, that if you send
Okay.
an email to somebody who's on vacation, you're not going to hear back from them until they're back from
Mm-hmm.
vacation, and perhaps even later than that. Because if they are doing, 50% in July, 50% in August, then
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be working twice as hard, and they may not be able to get back to their normal routine until September. So everybody sort of understands this, that the summer is sort of, it's gone. You don't
Mm.
you don't really expect anything fast in
Right.
summer. So that's kind of what happens for those summer months. And the French, they go on vacation abroad if they can, because all the tourists, all the foreigners are coming to Europe, and so it's kind of a nightmare. So the French go somewhere else. But anyway, in France, if you're a corporate employee, you work 35 hours a week. 35. That's it. You get 2.5 days vacation for every month you work. So it's between 25 and 30 days of vacation per year that you have. And on top of that, there are 11 public holidays right? And so you end up having 41 days of vacation per year, and 35-hour work weeks. And people, it comes 5 p.m., they're fucking gone. They're out of there. Like, they're not going to pick up the phone. They're not going to talk to you. If you want them to pick up the phone, you have to pay overtime. That's just the situation. But
So is it like 9 to 5 and with 1 hour lunch break?
yeah, or whatever the hours are, and
Okay.
then they half day on Friday, or 7 hours a day, or whatever.
Mm.
And then there's lunch. Lunch is not, it's mandatory. You have to take lunch. People don't, they take it seriously. You go sit down with somebody, your colleagues and whatnot. You sit down, you talk, you hang out. You might have a glass of wine or two, and then you go back to work. And then when it comes to time, you leave. And you don't have like any of these like Christmas parties or things like that. That's very rare that you have something where
Now, how do you mean?
So you might organize a Christmas party. Your company might say, like, well, let's go to Christmas and whatnot. And if it's not during business hours, people will be like, nah, not doing that.
Oh, so it's during business hours. They have a gathering. Okay.
Most of the time, it would have to be during business hours. But nowadays, I think that they are inviting people to some fancy enough places that they might come.
Mm-hmm.
But usually,
like
French companies
non-business hour.
Non-business hours. But usually, French companies did not. I don't know if they do now, but they didn't invite your significant others. And so why would you go if you're spending time around the holidays with your family and they can't come with you? You just don't do it.
Right. Yeah. So there's a very clear boundaries between work and your personal life. Okay. Get it. But so I'm just going to really quickly summarize. So the companies is really supportive. It seems like
well,
they're
they
either
have to
shutting
be.
the
It's the
companies.
law, man.
Right. They're shutting it down, or they have it so half of you go in July, half of you go in August, and help with planning and everything. So rather here, it seems like it's more free.
Well, here you don't shut the doors. Do you remember working at that velvet sweatshop in Redmond? It was 24/7, 365. And they give you your badge access to your building for 24/7, 365. And there were so many times where I actually worked on those 365 days. And I would come in and I would not be the only person in the building. Because, like Thanksgiving, for instance, there's a whole bunch of people who don't take Thanksgiving because they're not American, so they don't care. And they go to work and they do some work.
I feel like the thing is that on paper, America is so easy. You can work from home. You can take vacation whenever, there's some company you need approval, but it was like so loosey goosey. But the thing is that when you're gone, I felt like there is an unspoken expectation that you are supposed to work. And one thing that I really hate about this is it's not because I have to work. It's because of that when people that worked on my team go on vacation, I get irritated if they don't take their laptop. And when they come back, it take them 3-4 days to get back into, caught up. I got irritated, and this is what I feel bad about because I felt like it changed me as a person.
For sure.
That into a person that I don't like. I think there's nothing worse than hating yourself. I wouldn't say I hate myself, but I just thought that if I looked at me from the outside, I was like, oh, she's an asshole. You know what I mean?
I totally had the same feeling. Like when I worked in corporate, I did whatever I did, I expected others to do. especially in that
Mm-hmm.
place in Redmond. Like I was going like, hey, this is what we do. That's it. That's our culture. That's what we do. We just work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody wasn't online at the same time, I'd be like, what happened?
Where are
Like
you?
this is, yeah, what's going on? And I did this for a few years when I was over there. Yeah, it was terrible. I was a terrible boss at that time. And then I changed
Yeah.
that. I said, like,
Wow.
screw this. Because so it happened to me that I worked really, really hard on a product that we shipped. And I worked probably 360 days that one year. And when we shipped it, I grabbed my phone and I threw it away. I threw away the phone. I put it in the trash and I tossed it. And because I didn't want to be on the smartphone anymore. I didn't want to get emails. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
So then eventually I went and I bought a flip phone. Like all you could
Mm-hmm.
do
Mm-hmm.
was answer phone calls. And I had this
Yeah.
for like 6 months. And I was like, if you want to get a hold of me, you're going to call me, which means you're going to want to talk to me, or you're going to send me an
Mm-hmm.
email and I'll get to it when I get to it. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
not responding anymore because I had no family life. I had nothing. And so that at that point, I realized what I was doing to my people and I stopped.
Yeah. And I think finally the last topic, it's gonna kind of, I think it
Sorry.
ties back up to one of the things that we talked about. No, I think it's a good discussion today. It ties back to one of the things that we talked about in the first topic, about confidence. Americans have so much confidence at work, and versus humility. And as managers, it's really difficult here to deliver true, um, true news to the employee because you have to consider that person's feelings. And I think one of the difficult things that I had also is when you feel like you have all the data saying that, hey, and sometimes it's not that this person is not doing a good job. They're doing an okay job, but they're not the star performers that meeting the criteria to be promoted or something, but they think they are the star performer. Because I had to adjust raising children here in Hong Kong. You never really openly, well, when I was growing up, openly praise your own children, because then they don't understand that they can do even better if you just say, oh, you're just like amazing, you're so good. And then they think that it's enough and they won't seek to do better. So I think that's the mentality, kind of. So I remember like when my brother and sisters, they were really good students. And the neighbors would tell my mom and say, oh, they're so smart, they get such good grades. My mom, do you know what she said? Well, my brother and sister, they were standing right there. You know what my mom said to the neighbor? My mom said, oh, they're so stupid. They're not smart at all. Don't say that. Then they would be, they wouldn't do better. They're stupid. And if people say, oh, oh, your daughter is so pretty, and the mother would say, oh no, she's ugly. Oh, she's okay, just average. Like that. So I have to adjust when I raise my children here, so that, not that I'm not mean, but I would make sure that if they accomplish something, I don't put them up to a pedestal, but I let them know that they did a good job. You know, if they it's just like one of my daughters, she's really good at putting on makeup. Like she's really good with makeup, and then she's just so beautiful, and I would say, "Oh my gosh, she's just so pretty." I would tell them, but I wouldn't say, "Oh my gosh, you're the best, the most beautiful girls in the world." Right? I wouldn't do that. Um and I I don't know. I So this is how my background growing up. That's what it's like. So here, working here, I felt like when people pay me money to ask me to do a job, I know there's a list of things I need to do. So sometimes I'll do one better, two better on the list, or a specific standard. I'll raise it a little bit, but I thought, you know, it's my job wrong. There's nothing, extraordinary about it. But like my mom would always say, you gotta be humble, the humility. And that's a big thing that my parents always make sure that we are not boasting of what we've done. And lately, I saw on LinkedIn that when people switch job, they already landed in their job, so it's not like they're looking for a job. Um, they would say, oh, they would have this like heartfelt pose and say, oh, I'm just so thankful working with these great people. I'm going to miss them. It's a hard decision for me. And all of a sudden, the next paragraph went into, oh, in this job, I accomplished XYZ. I grow this program from X% to Y% and all these data. And they turned it into a resume. And I thought, what are you doing? You already landed a job. Why do you need to do that? I looked at it. It's embarrassing to me. Embarrassing. I don't get it. I mean, I don't think in France they don't do that, do they?
Tooting your own horn, I think, is generally not. It's kind of frowned upon.
In France,
this comes from this culture of performance evaluations and performance review. Like, you have to be better than the other person next to you, and you have to, in order to be better, you have to show what you did, and in showing what you did, you must talk about this stuff. So I blame performance reviews for this kind of mentality. Go ahead.
Depends on the person. There's some people really believe that all that they did is this great thing, but when I look next to the person next to them, they did the exact same thing. And so what is so special about it? You know what I mean?
Sure.
No, it's about high pressure working.
Okay.
So I walked into the bathroom one day in this company, and I was in the stall, and I heard a woman walking in. I heard her voice. I knew her. So she was talking on the phone with someone about work, and some of the stuff that she said, I thought, I don't think I should be knowing that. So much for the security training every year. Started talking about work, and then she walked into the stall next to me. And then all of a sudden she said, oh, hang on a second, I'm going to put you on mute. And then she started making noise, doing number 2. And then I thought, oh God. And then she got back on the phone with the woman, and then they said something, and then all of a sudden she said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I actually didn't mute. And I wasn't sure if she's going to come out. I didn't want her to. I know.
It'd be funny.
And I didn't want to come out because I didn't want her to see me washing my hands when she comes out, because I didn't want her to know that I heard it.
Would have come out.
So I was like sitting on the stall.
I would have laughed so hard because I can't help
I was like sitting on the stall, covering my mouth. I was like covering my mouth, trying not to laugh, sitting in the stall. And so I don't know if the corporate culture makes people so uptight. And
that's not being uptight.
They can't even
on the phone.
They can't even go to the They can't even go to the bathroom without talking about work. For heaven's sakes, hang up, call her back. Exactly. And I'm like, maybe they, I don't know, maybe they deserve to toot their own horns after all these episodes. They should tell people how great they are, because they can't even take a dump without, they can't even take a dump without not talking about work. I never told you this story, Kate. I'm so surprised.
No, I don't think you have. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I would have come out and cracked up so hard. So hard. I would have had to know this person and then go back and talk about it with them, to just say, like, I can't believe this happened. We would have been best friends, me and this woman who didn't mute.
Oh, I know, but I can't. I was so embarrassed. I was just like, oh my God, I don't want her to
Yes.
know that I was there. They worked so hard. So I guess it's on me not to talk about what I've done. That I think it's just a normal day at work. But anyway.
But you know, when you and I were working together last, I had some times where I was in meetings back to back, and it was really difficult to go
Mm-hmm.
pee. Because if you're late to a meeting, people point it out. They point it out that you're late, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I gotta pee." But people get upset if you're late to their meeting, and it's like, it's true, right?
I thought they're going to get. Are they going to be upset that you pee?
Well, people are upset. No, they're not upset that you pee, but they're upset that you're late. So if you come out of another meeting and you
That you
take 2
leak?
minutes to go pee,
They're upset that you leak? Leak?
no. What did you understand?
That you're
Hang on.
late. I thought you said you.
Late, yes.
I thought you said you leak. Oh, okay. I was
Well,
like,
you
they
might
might be
leak if
upset
you
if you pee
don't
your
be late.
pants.
Yeah.
I
You
know, but
might
if you
leak if you
leak, they
don't be
might
late.
be mad because you pee your pants.
That's
Oh my
hilarious.
God. Anyway,
So yeah,
yeah,
so
that's bad. That's bad.
it's bad. It's bad that people don't give you grace period at the beginning or at the end of the meeting. That it's fucking meetings all the time too. It's just I spent so much
Yeah.
of my professional career in meetings.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And
Ridiculous.
some of them, you're sitting there and thought, what am I doing here? I
No, but
have
when
work
I
to
worked
do.
remote, it was much easier to go pee because I could just put myself on mute, turn off the camera, go pee on mute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But did you? I was thinking you bring that phone in there with you.
Bring my laptop with me.
Right, right, exactly.
Seriously,
I mean, this is something that I would do probably.
I'm so sorry.
Honestly, I might bring my laptop with me.
Next time we do
Sorry,
one
I
of these
didn't mute.
podcasts, let's do this. You can be sitting on the
Anyway,
pot for the next podcast.
yeah. I don't know. Pot, cast. Yeah, got it.
Podcast. Yeah. Then we have to smoke a little
Podcast.
pot.
Anyway, um, well, we're about 45 minutes in. I really enjoyed
Holy
the
cow.
discussion today. I think we have some good discussion, some good stories, and um so for the listeners or later on if anybody watch us on YouTube, please share your comments and your experience if you have any funny corporate experience or you feel like there's some corporate pressure that you know make you do funny things.
But
Then please share with
I
us and then we can discuss.
I want to say that I did
Now say it again.
I want to say that I did enjoy working in corporate America. Like I wouldn't have done it for 30
Mm-hmm.
years if I didn't like it. So there were some really good times there too. There's some shitty stuff
Yes.
and there's some etiquette things, some lack of respect, some difficulties around performance evaluations, some difficulties around people who
Mm-hmm.
are not open and honest and direct. But I've learned a ton of stuff and I had a pretty good career
Yeah.
overall. So,
Right, right. I mean, there are things that I'm sure both of us did. Actually, I'm sure we feel that made some impact at some level, right? And those are the things that we can't deny. And I think we both appreciated that. That's really good experience for us and it shaped who we are partly, right? Every experience shape us, and
yes,
I really think that I appreciate that. So
yeah, you're
anyway,
awesome.
so with that said, I'm Ronit on the East Coast.
And I'm with Kate on the West Coast. Be seeing you.
We are hopelessly unedited,
Unedited.
and we'll see you next week. Bye.